You are in the final countdown to Christmas, and I'm wondering, has this Christmas season gone by fast for you? Has it been slow, or has it been just right? I feel like I'm talking about Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Which bed, which bowl of porridge was it for you? I hope that it has been enjoyable for you. I hope that you've been able to lean into just simple moments. I hope that all your running around in the craziness has come to an end, and if it's still just gearing up, I just pray that you are able to get the rest that you need and carry through with what's important and then decide to let some of the things go. I hope that all your Christmas shopping is done. Have you wrapped your presents? I am typically a wrap my presents a day or two at the closest to Christmas. For some reason, I always procrastinate. Every year I say I won't. But it's also just about that time to begin thinking about getting back into the swing of things with homeschool. Now, you might not start back full time for still another couple of weeks, but I think it's important to have this conversation now for you to just start thinking about it, just to put a little bug in your ear, just a little thought in the back of your mind, knowing that you got to get back into it. It's going to be really good. But I think it's good when we just kind of start thinking about it slowly and then one day just say, okay, we're going to sit down and we're really going to focus on this. So today's episode is going to be just that little bit to get you thinking about it. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about next steps. Welcome to Little by Little Homeschool Podcast, where we talk anything and everything homeschool and all that encompasses the homeschool lifestyle. I'm your host, Leigh Nguyen. I'm a mom who never intended to homeschool, and suddenly I am here, 14 years later, with 2 homeschool graduates and 1 more to go. No matter where you are in your homeschool journey, Little by Little Homeschool seeks to empower and encourage you to carry out this amazing calling of home educating and discipling your children. It's not always easy, but I'm here to walk alongside you because I promise that these years are worth all of your effort. Grab that load of laundry that needs folded, settle in at a kitchen sink to wash those dishes, or tie up those walking sneakers, and let's get into today's topic. Technically, early January is probably not quite halfway through the homeschool year. I don't know if you have to record days, and even if you have to record days, how strict you are to adhering to that, but it's probably not halfway, but it really feels like it is because of the break of Christmas. Whether you take a really long break for Christmas and don't do any formal type of schooling, or you do Christmas school, or you do partly, or maybe you just take off the week in between Christmas or New Year's, or maybe you don't take off that week. There's been years that we did not. We took off a couple days for Christmas, a couple of days for New Year's, but then otherwise did school because we were just home. And I figured we could spend that time doing that. We had done all the Christmassy kinds of things. So if you ever do that, do not feel guilty. I have done that in the past as well. And to me, I was like, okay, we can kind of get some things, done, and then we can finish up earlier in the year when the spring kind of comes. And so that kind of felt good then. It felt good doing it, that I did it when it got to be about springtime. So technically it's probably not halfway through, but it feels like it. Plus everyone about now is, well, in about a week or so after Christmas, people will be thinking about New Year's resolutions and thinking about the coming year and maybe setting goals and a vision for their year and thinking about things that they want to continue with, things that they want to change. And we're going to today add homeschool to that list, not in a way that adds any type of burden, because homeschooling is what you have chosen to do. And so let's do it really well. And so let's start the second half of the homeschool year on the right foot. And I have a couple of specific points that I want you to think about as you begin this second half of the homeschool year. But I want to mention that a resource is coming out 1 week from right now. So Monday, December 29th, and it's going to be out for a limited time. It is called Reimagine Your Homeschool, and it is specific to help you get that jumpstart, that boost. Maybe you need some just direction in general, or maybe you need some redirection or just need a little pep in your step when it comes to homeschool. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that at the end, but that's just going to be available for a short amount of time because it is meant for you to use at this second half of the homeschool year. But let's now talk about some of the things that I think will really help you to restart well. And this first one doesn't sound like a positive one, but I feel like let's just rip the Band-Aid off and let's just go with this one. The first thing I want to mention is that it's good for us as homeschool moms to admit our bad habits that we have created and that we have fallen into during the first half of the homeschool year, but don't just stay there. So first, admit, okay, maybe you've been using your phone too much during homeschool, or maybe you have not been sticking to actually checking your child's math work. And so therefore you have no idea how they're doing in math. They could be getting everything wrong. And then the next day just go on to the next page and do it. And you're not really quite sure where they are with it. Or maybe just bad habits of not being good with keeping up with meals. And you know what the bad habits are that you have kind of fallen into this homeschool year. And the second part, though, is so first admit it. You don't have to admit it to anybody else. If you want to, you can. You can admit it to your husband. You can admit it to your best friend, to some other homeschool besties. You can admit it to your kids, but at least, at the bare minimum, admit it to yourself. Take some time, pray. God already knows some of those things that maybe have been stumbling blocks and those habits that have formed that have not been helpful and have not added to your homeschool. And then come up with a plan for change. You can't come up with a plan for change if you don't admit what it is, the crutch or the bad habit or the thing you keep tripping over or the big, huge hurdle or roadblock that is keeping you from carrying through with your homeschool in the way that you know that you should and the way that God is calling you to do. In the past, some of my bad habits have been oversleeping, not being consistent, having my phone out, having other types of things or hobbies that were more of a priority, bad habits of not just not sticking to the day, or just giving my kids too many days just off or just on their own. And we're not meeting that vision, those goals that I have created. And so it takes the time to admit the bad habits. Now, sometimes you might come up with a goal in the beginning of the year and just be like, that's not sustainable. That's not necessarily a bad habit, but you know the bad habits, come up with a plan for change. What is it going to be? Simple one is the phone. You've had the phone out too much. It's a distraction. Very, very simple. Just take it and put it away. Maybe keep it turned off. I mean, there are more and more families that are going to some type of landline. I actually saw an ad the other day for a landline that you don't necessarily have to have the phone company come out and put in a line or anything like that. I mean, if you have a house that's a little bit older, you might already have lines in there and they can just hook it up. But it actually uses your Wi-Fi in order to call. And you can give that number out to the couple of people that you would want to hear from during your homeschool time that you're like, okay, I want to get notifications from them. So you could have your phone off. You could have some type of landline that just operates off of your Wi-Fi. And your husband, your mom, your best friend, your sister, whoever it is, you can say, look, I'm doing homeschool during this time. Please only call me if it is something that is really necessary or an emergency type of thing. So that could be an option for you. Or at least maybe look up, see how you can just set some notifications so that only certain people's texts and phone calls come through. You might need to put some type of app on your phone to keep you from going into certain other apps, social media apps, games, because maybe you're just like, I don't want to completely delete them. But there are ways in order to help to break that habit. The second thing that I want to mention that is really good for when you want to restart the second half of the year and do it on the right foot is to look at what are some of the good things that we were doing. Maybe it's what are some of the good things we did during Christmas school that we don't normally do during the homeschool year. And it was really good. And I want to continue with that. Maybe during Christmas school, or at least during the Christmas season, you might have done maybe just partly some of your formal work and done a lot more reading together, might do a lot more read alouds, or your kids you might have given them more time just to read. And you might say, wow, that was really impactful. That was really good. And I really enjoyed that. And it added just such goodness to our family. Well, then add that to your rest of your homeschool year. Figure out book lists, figure out times, figure out maybe what it replaces. You might say, I don't know that we can add it to what we were already doing, but you might say, you know what? I think we did enough geography for the year. And so we're going to replace that maybe 30 minutes that we were going to do with geography, and we're just going to read together. Or I'm going to give my kids more time to be able to read on their own. So look at what things have been going really well. Maybe it's things that were going well before you started, say you were doing Christmas school. And so before that, you were doing certain things and were going really well. And then you put that aside, and then you just homeschooled a different way during the Christmas season. Look back, what were you doing September, October, November that was really good? Then repeat that. Don't put those things aside, but also use those good things that you have done as inspiration to add similar things. Maybe it is, let's say, the reading. You notice that the read alouds, it was just really good. And you might say, okay, I want to do some reading aloud to them, but I realistically, right now at this season of life, I don't have 3 hours to read aloud. So use that as inspiration to say, you know what, let's find some audiobooks. Apparently there's audiobooks and things that are just on YouTube where people will read books. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. So you don't necessarily have to have a subscription to something, but it might be worth it to add into your budget to add some type of audiobook subscription so that it's maybe not you sitting and reading to them for 3 hours. Maybe you read for an hour and then they listen to an audiobook for an hour. Maybe then the other hour, they just read to themselves. I don't know. That might be an extreme saying 3 hours, but you get to choose how long that is. But use those good things also as inspiration to add similar things. Maybe your kids really enjoyed science and some type of unit studies that you were doing. You might say, okay, how can we add maybe science kind of like that in nature? Or how can we add more unit studies and cover more subjects than what we were doing before? Number 3. I feel like maybe this is like also rip the Band-Aid off kind of one too. So we'll go back and forth. Rip the Band-Aid off, have one that's like kind of like sweet and gentle, and then rip the Band-Aid off again. So rip the Band-Aid off and decide that you're going to be consistent. During the Christmas season, it's easy to be able to slide and just say, I have so much going on, because you do. You have regular life, and then you have all of the Christmas responsibilities, decorating the house, getting to different activities, purchasing presents, and getting your kids maybe to parties, and they might need certain outfits for things, and they might have maybe dance Christmas recitals, and there's just a lot more going on. And so it's easier to say, okay, we're not going to do homeschool today. Or you guys just do your independent stuff. Mom's got these other things to do. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. But once that holiday rush is over, when we start back in January, most likely all your Christmas decorations are put away. That's always my goal before we start back with homeschool, is that all of that is done, put away. The house has gotten a good cleaning. We've gotten a dusting and a vacuuming. And so we're able to start off fresh. And that isn't something that has to still be done. But decide that you're going to be consistent. Consistency, there's no magic pill. There's nothing magical about it. It's just deciding that you're going to do it, and then you do it whether you feel like it or not. I'm in my final year of homeschool. It would be very easy for me to say, we have covered so many things over the years. He's good. And I am a big proponent of not just letting your high schoolers, your teens, just go off and be completely independent in their homeschool. Maybe some don't agree with that. And I think that they should be independent in something, but I think that we really do need to be involved, and we still need to be doing things together. We still do morning time every morning. Now, I've mentioned before, we had a soft start to our homeschool year. And so I feel a little bit more pressure to say, okay, I have to be consistent because I've got some really great theology books, and we're going through a book series now that's studying different religions and cults. And it's not light stuff, but he's really interested. And I'm just excited to be able to explore these different topics and all this information, engaging with him in it. And so it'd be easy to be like, you know what? It's his final year. It's fine. He's got enough, that we've done enough over the years. That could go for any grade. You could just say, you could be at the other end and have young kids and be like, we have plenty of time ahead. We'll just kind of take it easy. But in the back of your mind that you really want to pursue some really good things. So just decide you're going to be consistent. About this time of the year, as I mentioned earlier, people are talking about New Year's resolutions. And one of the number one New Year's resolutions is for people to lose weight / get into shape. Do you know who actually accomplishes that New Year's goal? Now, you can set this goal any time of the year. I set this goal a couple years ago, and it was not around New Year's. But when you set that goal, do you know who it is who actually does it? It's the people who are consistent. They don't feel like going to the gym, or they don't feel like putting on their workout outfit and going and working out in the corner of their living room or their basement. They don't feel like going and taking a walk. They don't feel like saying no to that dessert when they know that they have had enough, or saying no to a second helping of dinner when you know that you're full. It's the people who just stay consistent. Homeschooling is like, you have to think of it in the long game. And I have learned that also about when it comes to losing weight and to strength training that I've been doing. It's a long game. This isn't a short-term thing. This is something that doesn't happen overnight or in just a couple of weeks. Homeschooling is a long-term thing, and you just have to put one foot in front of the other and decide you're going to be consistent, whether you feel like it or not. I say to myself, when it comes to whatever it is, one of my things is I'm trying not to snack on anything after dinner. I'm not hungry. My brain thinks that I need some food. I don't need anything. I sleep much better if I do not have anything. And so I say to myself, will you be glad in the morning that you said no to this brownie? Or it's always usually something sweet. And I always say to myself, okay, myself tomorrow is going to be thankful. And one of the first things that when I wake up in the morning, I will say to myself, I am so thankful I did not eat that brownie last night. So it's just staying consistent. And you have to decide you're going to be consistent and just doing the things that you know is best. And my final tip, stay with me here. This is I said, rip the Band-Aid off, sweet, rip the Band-Aid off. Maybe is this one sweet? I don't know. You decide. This one is that you need to revisit your original plans. Look back at the plans that you made for this homeschool year, back when you were planning it, maybe last April or last August, and then take a look at what your original plans were. There's often times that I have found that I would have a list of books or resources, and when I go and revisit and look at it this time, I was like, oh, we didn't even start that one. I really wanted to, and we're going to need to get going on that one, or to take a look at my goals and say, I'm not working on that goal at all. And then looking at it also and saying, is that even something that is reasonable to do this year? With all that we have going on with all the other goals, it might say, okay, this one might need to be put aside and we'll work on this one. We'll add it to the list for next year, or we'll add it and we'll make it number one for next year. Or you might say, you know what? I had forgotten about that goal, or I had forgotten about that curriculum or that resource or that field trip or whatever it is that I wanted to do. So revisit your original plans. If you are part of your homeschool blueprint, you have created original plans. And I want you to go back and I want you to take a look at those original plans. If you have completely veered off course from your original plans and not in a good way, if you completely veered off and it's going well, don't worry about it. But if you have completely veered off and it is not going well, all is not lost. That brings me to reimagine your homeschool. I am not going to have an episode out on Thursday. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. Thursday is actually Christmas Day. And I know no one's going to listen to it. And so I've got a lot going on as well. And I was like, why add one more thing for you to feel like you have to listen to it? So I will not be back here until next Monday, December 29th. And that is when you'll be able to get more information about Reimagine Your Homeschool. It will only be available for a limited time. And I'll tell you more about it, but during this program, it's just going to be like a quick workshop for you to go through. And it's just going to be like a big boost for you, for your homeschool, hopefully get you excited about it, get things on track. You'll be able to work through all these things, admitting your bad habits, keep doing the good things, deciding to be consistent, and revisiting your original plans. And if you don't have any original plans, you're going to create original plans in Reimagine Your Homeschool, which brings me to your homeschool blueprint. If you are a part of your homeschool blueprint, Reimagine Your Homeschool, there is some crossover because there are just some core tenets that I think are really important to focus on. So there is some crossover for it, but there's also new material. And oftentimes when I've had moms go through your homeschool blueprint, it's been a little while. Maybe it's been months and they've completely kind of forgotten about things, or it's been a year. And so Reimagine Your Homeschool is open to whomever, whether you have taken a part of my courses or not, or you've done any of other workshops or anything like that. It's going to be a little bit of the boost that you're going to need. So I'm excited about the second half of the homeschool year for you. So I'll be back for that next Monday. In the meantime, friend, have a very Merry Christmas. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If it was just what you needed to hear, would you do me a favor and share it with a friend? And if you would like to connect more, social media links and more are in the show notes just for you. I promise to see you back here real soon.